The alien girl sat across from the human in the quiet corner of the station's garden. She was young, with silver blue skin that shimmered when the soft lights touched it. Her large violet eyes blinked quickly, full of curiosity and innocence. She had been studying humans for weeks, but today, she finally had the courage to ask a question that had been burning inside her mind. The human, a tall young man named Daniel, was enjoying his drink when he noticed her watching him too closely. Her face looked serious, but her lips twitched like she was about to laugh. Daniel raised his eyebrows. "What?" he asked, leaning back. The alien girl tilted her head. Her voice was soft, almost like music. "Human, I saw something strange yesterday." "I don't understand it," Daniel sighed. He knew this look. Aliens were always curious about Earth customs, but sometimes the questions went far too personal. Still, he smiled. "All right, ask me." "What did you see?" She hesitated, biting her lower lip. Then, with the boldness of someone too innocent to understand embarrassment, she asked, Why do humans press their mouths together and then touch each other so close? Is this some kind of energy exchange?" Daniel nearly choked on his drink. He coughed, his face turning red. "That's, kissing. It's not energy, it's affection, romance." Her eyes grew wide, glowing under the station lights. "Romance, you mean? This is part of reproduction?" Daniel froze. He opened his mouth, then closed it. He rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. "Well, not exactly. But sometimes, yes, it leads to reproduction." The alien girl gasped, her hands flying to her cheeks. Her silver skin shimmered brighter, almost like she was blushing in her own alien way. You do this all the time?" Her voice was half horror, half fascination. Other aliens nearby turned their heads, curious about the sudden outburst. Daniel quickly leaned forward and whispered, "Keep your voice down. It's not like that. Humans don't do it all the time." But the girl was too shocked. She shook her head, her long silver hair floating slightly as if the air itself was reacting to her emotions. "In my world," she said breathlessly, "life is created inside crystal chambers. No touching. No strange rituals. Nope, mouths pressing." Daniel laughed nervously. "Yeah, well, humans are different. We connect in more personal ways." The alien girl leaned closer, studying his face like he was some rare creature. "But why? Why mix pleasure with creation, that is? So illogical." Daniel didn't know how to answer. He scratched his chin. "Because we're not machines. We feel, we love. It's not just about making life, it's about sharing life with someone." Her eyes sparkled with confusion. She looked like a student struggling with an impossible lesson. Sharing life. By pressing bodies together. "Yes," Daniel admitted, his voice awkward. "That's part of it." She covered her mouth and whispered, "That's horrifying." Daniel groaned. "Look, you asked. Don't blame me for the answer." But she wasn't done. Her curiosity was endless. "And children. You make them this way. Not in chambers, not in laboratories, but with this touching." He nodded. "Exactly. That's how every human comes into the world." The alien girl's whole body trembled. She almost looked like she would faint. Then suddenly she burst into laughter, the kind of laughter that came from disbelief. Her voice rang like bells, drawing more attention. "This is madness. Madness and chaos. And you act so normal about it." Daniel groaned again, lowering his face into his hands. "Please stop shouting. People are looking at us." But she leaned forward, her eyes still huge. "Tell me more. Tell me everything." Daniel froze. "Everything?" "Yes," she said firmly. "How does it start? Do humans just look at each other and suddenly decide, today I will make life?" Daniel laughed awkwardly. No, it's not that simple. There's love, trust, and time." The alien girl tapped her fingers on the table. "Strange. Very strange. We do not waste time like this. We simply choose a partner, give genetic material, and the chamber does the rest. No risk, no emotion, efficient." "Sounds cold," Daniel said softly. "Don't you ever wish for more?" Her smile faded. For the first time, she looked uncertain. She glanced down at her hands. "I never thought about it. We are told this is the perfect way." Daniel leaned back. "Maybe perfect isn't always better. Maybe messy is what makes life real." She looked at him again, and her violet eyes shimmered with a new emotion, something between fear and wonder. She whispered, "Maybe humans are not as weak as I thought. Maybe You're terrifying, Daniel laughed. Terrifying? Because of kissing? She didn't laugh this time. She just stared at him, still trembling slightly. And deep inside her, a thought formed. A thought she would never admit aloud. What would it feel like? To try? The alien girl could not sleep that night. Even though the great station outside was full of stars, her thoughts were stuck on one single subject: humans and their strange way of reproduction. Every time she closed her eyes, she remembered Daniel's awkward face, his red cheeks, and his strange words. It's not just survival, it's about sharing life. To her alien mind, this was madness, but madness that pulled her curiosity deeper, like gravity. The next day, she found Daniel again. He was walking along the glowing corridors, carrying a small tablet in his hand. She hurried behind him, her silver-blue skin shining with excitement. "Daniel!" she called out. Her voice echoed, and people turned. Daniel sighed. He already knew what was coming. "Don't tell me," he muttered. "You want more answers." She stopped in front of him, her violet eyes unblinking. "Yes, I want the truth. No half-words, no hiding. You will explain everything." Daniel groaned, but he saw the determination on her face. She was not teasing. She was not laughing. She truly wanted to know. He guided her into a quiet observation room where Earth could be seen in the distance, a small blue gem hanging in the darkness. "All right," Daniel said slowly, "but you asked for this. Don't blame me later." She nodded eagerly, her silver hair swaying like liquid light. Daniel sat down. He took a deep breath. "So, human reproduction starts with two people, a man and a woman, or sometimes different ways now with science, but originally it was always between male and female." The alien girl tilted her head, confused. "Two? Just two?" "Yes, just two." Her eyes widened. "Not a group? Not a council? Not a chosen batch of DNA?" Daniel shook his head. "Nope, just two." She gasped so loudly that even Daniel jumped. "That is inefficient," she cried. "So much risk of failure, and so much dependence on chance." Daniel chuckled. "Yeah, maybe, but that's what makes it special." She narrowed her eyes. "Continue." "I must hear more." Daniel's face turned red. Okay. So the two people, they meet, they spend time together, they grow close. When they feel ready, they get physically close." "Define close," she demanded. Daniel's ears went hot. He rubbed his temples, like holding each other, touching, kissing. Her mouth fell open again. The mouth thing again. Always the mouth. Daniel laughed nervously. "Yeah, humans are big on that. But it goes further. Their bodies connect. The man gives a seed. The woman carries it, and from that seed, inside her body, a child begins to grow." The alien girl's chair nearly tipped backward. She grabbed the table for balance, her eyes burning with shock. Inside her body? You mean the child grows inside flesh?" Daniel nodded slowly. "Yes, for 9 months. Then the baby is born." The alien girl's voice cracked. "Born? You mean not from chambers, not from glass tubes, not from controlled machines, but from pain? From the body itself?" "Yes." She covered her face with her hands and whispered, "This is horrifying, and yet incredible." Daniel leaned forward. "See? It may sound crazy to you, but it's how every human life begins. Every single one." Her hands dropped and she looked straight into his eyes. "Your species must have gone extinct 1,000 times with such risk. But you are still here. Still strong. Why?" Daniel smiled faintly. "Because it's not just biology. It's love. Parents protect their children because they feel them growing inside, because they sacrifice for them. It's not just numbers and DNA, it's connection. That's why humans fight for family." Her lips parted in awe. For a moment, no words came out. She just stared at him, as though she were staring at an alien herself. Finally, she whispered, "Love changes biology?" Daniel nodded. "Exactly. Love makes us stubborn, makes us survive." The alien girl shivered. The word love sounded strange, heavy, powerful. She had no word for it in her own language. Their society did not believe in such a thing. To them, reproduction was duty, not passion. But here, sitting across from this simple human, she felt her world shaking. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "Daniel, show me how humans begin this ritual." Daniel nearly fell out of his chair. "What? No, I'm not, no, that's not, I mean, you can't just ask that. Her eyes gleamed with mischief now, though her innocence remained. Why not? You said it is normal. You said it is done by many. Daniel's heart raced. He shook his head. It's not something you just show to anyone. It's private. It's between people who trust each other. She blinked. Trust or love? Daniel swallowed. Both. For the first time she smiled, small, curious, dangerous. Then perhaps one day, I will understand. And when I do, I will not be horrified anymore. She stood, her silver hair falling like a curtain of starlight, and left the room. Daniel remained frozen in his seat, his face pale, his heart pounding. He knew this was only the beginning, because once an alien starts asking questions, she never stops. The alien girl could not shake the images Daniel had planted in her mind. All night her dreams were strange and disturbing. She imagined humans pressed together, faces locked, bodies tangled. She woke up several times, her skin shimmering nervously, whispering to herself, "Inside the body. Inside the body." Her people had always believed human beings were fragile, simple creatures. But after what she had learned, she was no longer sure. Humans, she thought, were reckless and terrifying. The next morning she found Daniel in the training hall. He was running on a treadmill, sweat dripping down his face. He waved when he saw her, but her expression made him slow down. She looked pale, if her silver blue skin could even grow pale, and her violet eyes were wide with something between fear and fascination. "Daniel," she whispered. "I saw it." He blinked. "Saw what?" "In my dreams," she said, shivering. "I saw humans doing what you told me. The seed. The growing child inside flesh. I saw the pain. I saw the chaos. It is too much." Daniel sighed, wiping his forehead with a towel. "I told you it's natural for us. You don't need to picture it like a horror movie." But to her, it was horror. She sat on a bench and hugged her knees. "On my planet, we keep life clean, safe, no risk, no fear. But humans, you gamble with life itself. You let pain and danger decide the future." Daniel sat next to her. He didn't argue right away. Instead, he looked at her trembling hands. "Maybe it looks like horror to you, but for us it's strength. Every human alive has survived that journey, from inside their mother's body through the pain into the world. We're all born fighters." Her head snapped toward him, eyes glowing. "So every human child is born from battle?" "In a way," Daniel said with a smile. "Born from battle, raised with love," she gasped again. Her imagination ran wild. Millions of human children screaming their way into existence, mothers crying out, fathers waiting in fear, and still the species survived. To her alien logic, it was impossible. Yet here he was, living proof. "Your species should be extinct," she whispered. "But instead you spread across the stars. You are not weak, you are monsters." Daniel laughed softly. "Monsters, huh? That's one way to put it." She covered her mouth with both hands. "How can you laugh?" "It is madness." "Madness." Daniel leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Because if you only see horror, you miss the beauty. It's not just pain, it's courage. It's the first cry of a child, the first smile of a parent. It's messy, yes, but it's real." She stared at him for a long moment, her breath uneven. Real. Her mind fought with itself. Half of her wanted to run, to never think about humans again. The other half wanted to know more, to dive deeper into the madness. Finally, she shook her head. "I cannot accept this. It is too wrong, too dangerous." Daniel stood and offered her his hand. "Come on, I'll show you something." She hesitated, then placed her slender fingers in his. He led her to the medical bay. Inside, holograms of human anatomy floated in the air. He tapped the display, and suddenly the image of a tiny human fetus appeared. Small, fragile, but alive, its tiny heartbeat glowing. The alien girl's eyes widened. She pressed her hand against the glass screen, almost afraid to touch. "It is so small. And it grows inside? This tiny spark becomes a person?" Daniel nodded. "Yes, and every human carries that story. That's why family means everything to us." Her chest tightened. She remembered her own birth, not from a mother's body, but from a crystal chamber. No one had held her. No one had suffered for her. She was chosen, created, efficient. She never thought it was wrong. Until now, her voice cracked. "Perhaps we are the weak ones, not you," Daniel smiled gently. "Or maybe we're both strong in different ways. But one thing's for sure, you'll never see humans the same again. She stepped back, trembling. She felt dizzy. For the first time in her life, she doubted everything she had been taught. She looked at Daniel with wide eyes and whispered, "You are terrifying, but maybe, just maybe, also wonderful." Daniel chuckled nervously. "I'll take that as a compliment." But as she turned to leave, her thoughts darkened again. If humans could love with such fire, if they could risk so much for family, what would happen if that love ever turned into hate? The alien girl shivered. To her, humans were no longer just allies or strangers. They were mysteries, dangers, and perhaps the most powerful creatures she had ever known. And deep inside, a frightening question began to grow. What if one day she wanted to experience it herself? The alien girl walked through the grand halls of the station with her mind spinning. She had never felt so unsettled. On her planet, life was simple, logical, controlled. There were no secrets, no strange rituals, no dangerous risks. But after Daniel's explanation, everything she thought was safe now felt incomplete. She found herself standing again in front of Daniel. He was sitting in the cafeteria, eating something simple, a sandwich. She stared at him for a long moment. Daniel noticed her gaze and smirked. "What now? Another horror story playing in your head?" She sat down slowly. Her silver blue fingers tapped the table nervously. "Daniel, your people are mad. Truly mad. But perhaps there is something I missed." "I want to compare." He raised an eyebrow. "Compare?" "Yes, I will tell you how my people make life, and you will tell me why your way is better. Then we shall see who is truly wise," Daniel laughed. "All right, deal. Go ahead." The alien girl straightened her back proudly. "On my world, reproduction is done inside crystal chambers. We select the strongest DNA, free from disease, free from weakness. Parents do not waste energy or time. The chamber grows the child safely, with no risk of pain or death. When the time is right, the chamber opens and the child steps into the world. Perfect, clean, efficient." Her eyes glittered with pride. No messy emotions. No suffering. Just logic and progress. Daniel leaned back, chewing his food thoughtfully. "Sounds impressive, but also sounds like you're making machines, not children." Her smile faded. "Machines? No, they are living beings. Perfect beings." Daniel leaned forward. His eyes were calm, steady. "But who holds them when they're born? Who cries with joy? Who sacrifices sleep, food, and comfort for them? Who whispers to them when they're afraid?" The alien girl frowned. "Those things are unnecessary. A child must learn strength, not softness." Daniel shook his head. "No, strength comes from softness. A baby learns love first, and from that love they grow strong enough to face the world." She tilted her head. "But why choose pain when you could choose perfection?" Daniel's smile was faint but sure. "Because perfection is lifeless. Our way may be painful, but it gives meaning. Every human life is a story written with sacrifice." Her chest tightened. She wanted to argue, but his words struck something inside her. She remembered her own childhood. She had been born in a crystal chamber. When it opened, attendants greeted her with cold hands and professional smiles. No one cried. No one held her. No one whispered her name with trembling joy. For the first time, she wondered what it might have felt like to be wanted, not just selected. She clenched her fists. But emotions, they make mistakes. Love can be broken. Fear can destroy. What then? What if your love fails? Daniel's voice dropped lower. Even broken love is stronger than no love at all. Even mistakes can make people better. Without emotions, you may never feel pain, but you also never feel real joy. The alien girl looked away, her silver hair falling across her face. On my planet, emotions are dangerous. They make wars. They make chaos, Daniel nodded. True, but they also make peace. They make art, they make families. Without emotions, you survive. With them, you truly live. The silence between them grew heavy. She was breathing faster now, as though something inside her was cracking. Finally, she whispered, "Perhaps that is why your kind frightens me. You risk everything, life, body, soul, for something invisible. For love." Daniel smiled softly. "And that's why we win battles others think we'll lose. Love gives us strength even when logic says we should fall." Her violet eyes flickered. She wanted to laugh, to call him foolish. But instead she whispered something she had never said before. "Maybe. I envy you," Daniel blinked. "Envy, really?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, I was born from a chamber. I was chosen by numbers. But no one suffered for me. No one loved me into life, maybe. I want to know what that feels like. Daniel's breath caught in his chest. For once he had no words. She stood, her voice trembling. Daniel, perhaps humans are not weak, perhaps we are the ones who are incomplete. And with that she walked away, leaving Daniel staring after her, his heart strangely heavy. He realized something dangerous was happening. The alien girl was not just curious anymore. She was changing. The alien girl could not escape the storm in her heart. For days she tried to distract herself with her duties, monitoring star maps, studying reports, attending training drills. But no matter what she did, her mind always drifted back to Daniel and his words about love, family, and messy human reproduction. At first, she told herself it was just research. She was a scholar, curious about another species. But soon her thoughts grew warmer, stranger. She would remember the way Daniel laughed awkwardly, the way his eyes softened when he spoke of children, the way his hands moved when he explained. She began to wonder not only about how humans lived, but how it might feel to live like them. One evening, she found herself outside the human quarters. She hesitated, her silver-blue skin glowing faintly under the corridor lights. She whispered to herself, "This is not research anymore, this is something else." Before she could stop herself, she pressed the door chime. Daniel opened it, looking surprised but not unhappy. "You again? Let me guess. You've come for lesson number 3? She stepped inside, her violet eyes bright but nervous. Not a lesson. A question, a very personal question. Daniel froze. His instincts screamed that this was dangerous. Okay. Shoot. She sat on the edge of his bed, her silver hair falling over her shoulder like a waterfall of light. She looked at him with a mix of innocence and boldness. "Daniel, what does it feel like?" Daniel blinked. What does what feel like? She leaned closer, lowering her voice as if it were a sacred secret. The touching, the kissing, the closeness. You told me what it means, but not what it feels like. I want to know. Daniel's face turned red instantly. Whoa, that's really personal. I can't just... Look, it's not something you describe in a manual. He struggled for words. It's warm. It's scary. It's like falling but safe at the same time. Her lips parted slightly. Falling but safe. She repeated the words like a poem, her eyes distant. Then suddenly she looked directly at him again. "Show me." Daniel nearly fell off his chair. "Show you? No way." It doesn't work like that. She tilted her head, confused. "Why not? You said it is normal. Humans do it all the time." Daniel rubbed his face with his hands. "Not with strangers. Not with someone you barely know. You need trust, feelings, connection." Her voice softened. "And do we not have that, Daniel? Have I not trusted you with my questions? Have I not shared my secrets? Why am I still a stranger?" Daniel opened his mouth, but no words came out. She had a point. He had shared more with her than he had with most people in months. The alien girl reached out, her slender hand hovering near his. She didn't touch him, but the air between them felt charged. "Please," she whispered. "I do not wish to study anymore. I wish to understand." "With you," Daniel's heart pounded. He had never seen her like this, so vulnerable, so curious, so human. He shook his head quickly, trying to calm himself. "Listen, this isn't something I can just do for science. It's not a test. It's not an experiment. It's about feelings. If I did this just to prove a point, it would be wrong." She lowered her eyes, her voice almost breaking. "Then tell me how I can earn it. Tell me what it takes for a human to choose someone." Daniel stared at her. The question was innocent, but the way she asked it carried weight. She wasn't mocking anymore. She wasn't horrified, she was longing. He took a deep breath. "It takes time. It takes honesty. It takes something even I don't fully understand. But when it happens, your heart knows." Her violet eyes lifted, shimmering with a strange glow. "Perhaps my heart is learning now." The silence stretched between them. Neither spoke. Neither moved. The tension was thick, almost unbearable. Finally, Daniel forced a laugh, breaking the spell. "You really are impossible, you know that? First you scream in horror. Now you're asking for practice lessons." She smiled faintly. "That is curiosity. It begins with fear and ends with desire." Daniel swallowed hard. He knew she was changing. He knew this was no longer just about cultural study. This was personal, for both of them. And deep down he feared that one day curiosity might turn into something far more dangerous. The alien girl did not speak to Daniel for 2 days. She avoided the human quarters, avoided the cafeteria, even avoided the training hall where she usually sat and watched him run. At first, Daniel thought she was embarrassed. Maybe she regretted her bold questions. But when he finally saw her again, he realized something deeper was happening. She was standing alone in the observation deck, staring at Earth through the massive glass wall. The planet glowed in the distance, wrapped in clouds, alive with oceans and forests. Her silver blue skin reflected the starlight, but her violet eyes looked heavy, filled with questions. Daniel walked up quietly. "You've been hiding," he said gently. She turned slowly, her voice soft. "Not hiding, thinking." Daniel tilted his head. "Thinking about what?" Her lips trembled as she answered. "About humans. About what you told me. I tried to imagine my people doing what yours do. I tried to picture us holding, touching, kissing. I tried to imagine carrying life inside our bodies. At first I felt sick, but then I wondered if we are the ones who are missing something." Daniel frowned slightly. "Missing something?" She nodded. "Yes, we have control. We have safety. But what if safety has made us empty? You speak of love, of sacrifice, of a bond so strong it shapes life itself. We do not have that, and I cannot stop thinking about it." Daniel sat on the railing beside her, folding his arms. "It's not perfect. Sometimes love fails. Sometimes parents make mistakes. But even then, the feeling is real. The struggle is real. That's what makes it powerful." She turned back to the view of Earth. "Perhaps that is why your kind spread across the stars. Not because of your weapons, not because of your machines, but because of your hearts. You carry your families with you even in your memories. You fight not just for survival, but for someone waiting at home." Daniel was quiet for a long moment. He could see she wasn't mocking him anymore. Her voice carried no horror, no laughter, only wonder. Finally, she whispered, "When you spoke of children born through pain, I thought it was weakness. Now I think it may be strength greater than I can understand." Daniel smiled faintly. "Now you're starting to get it." She faced him again, her eyes glowing faintly. "Daniel, do you know what frightens me most?" He raised an eyebrow. "What?" She took a shaky breath. "That I envy you. That I envy your kind. That I envy you?" Daniel's chest tightened. "Envy me? Why?" Her words came slowly, heavy with emotion. "Because you were loved into existence. Someone carried you, risked for you, suffered for you. You were wanted before you even had a name. I was chosen by a machine. I was efficient, perfect, but never loved." The silence that followed was sharp, painful. Daniel's heart ached. He wanted to say something, anything, but no words seemed enough. At last, he reached out gently and touched her hand. Her skin was cool, but it trembled under his warmth. "You don't need to envy me. Love isn't only about birth. It's about what you choose now. You can still find it. You can still feel it." Her violet eyes widened. She stared at their hands, then at his face. For a moment, she looked as if she might cry, though her species had no tears. Instead, her skin shimmered brighter like starlight. She whispered, "Then maybe I want to learn. Not from books, not from machines, but from you." Daniel's breath caught. He hadn't expected this, her honesty, her vulnerability. He wanted to pull back, to stop this before it went too far. But something inside him told him this was bigger than either of them. He held her gaze. "Learning about love, it takes time. It takes patience. But if you're serious, I'll try to show you." Her lips curved into a small, trembling smile. "I am serious. For the first time in my life, I feel something real." They stood in silence, watching Earth together. For her, it was not just a planet anymore. It was a symbol of chaos, of pain, of danger, yes, but also of warmth, of connection, of something worth risking everything for. In that moment, she understood something her people never taught her. Love was not weakness. Love was not foolishness. Love was power, and it terrified her even more than horror ever did. The alien girl stood on the balcony of the station, the stars stretching endlessly around her. For days, she had wrestled with questions she never thought she would ask. But now there was no denying it. Something inside her had changed. She was no longer horrified by human reproduction. She was no longer mocking. She was no longer only curious. She wanted to understand, truly, deeply. And that thought frightened her more than anything. She turned when she heard footsteps. Daniel walked toward her, carrying 2 mugs of something warm. He handed one to her, smiling softly. "Couldn't sleep?" She shook her head. No, my mind will not stop. Daniel leaned against the railing beside her, sipping his drink. Still thinking about everything I told you? Yes, she admitted. At first it was horror, then envy, now. Her voice trailed off. Daniel tilted his head. Now what? She looked at him, her violet eyes shimmering under the stars. Now I feel something I cannot explain. My people do not have a word for it, but you do. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Love? The alien girl's lips parted slightly, and for the first time she whispered the human word. Love. The sound of it on her tongue made Daniel's heart skip. He didn't laugh, didn't joke. He could see in her eyes that she was serious, but then she stepped closer, too close. Her hand brushed against his. Her skin was cool, almost electric. Daniel, I do not want to study anymore. I do not want only to watch. I want to feel. I want to try. Daniel nearly dropped his mug. Wait, what? You mean you want to? She nodded firmly. Yes. I want to experience what humans feel when they choose each other. Not tomorrow. Not in theory, no. Daniel's mouth went dry. His brain screamed at him to stop this, to explain boundaries, to remind her that this was dangerous. But when he looked into her eyes, he saw more than curiosity. He saw longing. He saw pain. He saw someone who had lived her whole life without love and was desperate to touch it, even if it burned her. Look, Daniel said carefully, his voice low. This isn't a game. Once you cross this line, everything changes. You can't unlearn it. You can't go back to how things were. Her voice was steady. Then I do not want to go back. I want to step forward. Daniel's chest tightened. He knew this moment was dangerous, for her, for him, for everything. If her people discovered what she was asking, it could mean scandal, exile, maybe even war. But standing there under the stars, with her glowing skin and trembling voice, he also knew something else. She wasn't just an alien girl anymore. She was someone reaching for him, for humanity, for love itself. And then, suddenly, the door to the balcony opened. Another alien entered, tall and stern, dressed in the official robes of her people. His eyes narrowed as he saw the two of them standing so close. Step away from him, the elder commanded sharply. Now, the girl stiffened, her hand jerking back from Daniel's. Father. Daniel froze. Father? The elder's eyes burned with fury. You disgrace our family, speaking to him of forbidden things. Do you not know what humans are? Dangerous, contaminated, weak. The girl's voice shook, but she stood tall. No, you are wrong. They are not weak. They are strong in ways you cannot see. Stronger than us. Stronger than Chambers. Stronger than logic. The elder slammed his hand on the railing. Enough, you will return with me at once. You will forget this madness. But the alien girl stepped forward, her chin high, her voice clear. I will not forget. I cannot forget. I have seen love in him, and I want it for myself. You cannot take this from me. The elder's face twisted with rage. He reached for her arm, but Daniel stepped between them, his own eyes blazing. Hey, she has a choice. She's not a machine. You can't force her to forget. The elder glared at him with pure hatred. You do not understand what you are playing with, human. You are a spark, and she is fire. If you touch her, you will both burn. The alien girl's voice broke, trembling but fierce. Then let me burn. For once, let me feel something real. The silence that followed was heavy, electric. The elder's face turned cold. So be it, he hissed. But if you take this path, you are no daughter of mine. He stormed out, leaving them in the cold starlight. The girl's shoulders shook, but she did not cry. She turned to Daniel, her violet eyes glowing with defiance. I have lost my family tonight. But maybe I have found something greater. Daniel stared at her, stunned. Are you sure about this? Once you choose love, there's no going back. She took his hand, her voice steady. Then let us go forward, together. And with those words, everything changed. The stars outside seemed brighter, but in the shadows of the station, enemies stirred. Her people would not allow this, not without a fight. The human and the alien girl had crossed the line, and nothing would ever be the same again.